So there's really two categories of hooks in fishing. You've got a treble hook and a J hook. Of course, there's little nuanced differences to different types, but for sake of argument, you've got trebles and J hook. Now, I'm not going to belabor the treble hook too much, but where trebles vary is going to be in hook gauge, gap, and size. But the key to remember, the treble hook, three prongs. Some are higher quality than others, but that's a standard issue hook. In the tackle industry, most plugs come rigged standard with 2 treble hooks, and that's the norm today. But we're going to talk about all the other styles of hooks too. And so the second most popular hook in the tackle industry in terms of plugs is relatively recent design. It's called an inline hook, or Inline J hook. Now, looking at the hook, it's very similar to a live bait hook in the fact that it's got a short shank relative to a wide gap, and the gap is the amount of space between the hook shank and the hook tip. But I'm going to grab a little live bait hook here. It's another style of J hook, but you'll see why this hook is called an inline hook. The hook eye is turned such that it's in line with the hook shank, whereas a live bait hook, a traditional live bait hook, a J hook, is going to have the eye that is perpendicular to the hook shank. Now, why is this important? Well, when you're rigging a plug with an inline single hook, you want to have the hook facing either down or upward. So here I have, in fact, I took this hook off this swimming plug, but with one singular split ring on this hook, you can see the hook is either facing up or down because you've got a vertical presentation with the hook wire, the through wire that's inside the plug, a split ring, and then continuing on the same orientation, you've got a vertical inline hook eye. So now let's take a look with what happens when we put a live bait hook on this. It's going to be off to the side. So that is the disadvantage of having the hook eye, again, perpendicular to the hook shank as opposed to in line with the hook shank. So if all you have is a live bait hook, that's no problem because you can solve for that with 2 split rings to offset that configuration. But that is why inline hooks have become so popular in the tackle industry in terms of rigging on plugs, is without that extra split ring, you're able to accomplish that proper vertical presentation upward or downward. Now here I'm holding a swimming plug. The back hook you tend to want to have facing upward and the bottom face facing downward. But again, the inline hook is probably the most popular plug hook on the industry. Now here you have a Siwash hook. Now again, in the J hook family, but the standard thing about a Siwash is it's a little bit of a shorter hook shank relative to the length of the hook point, and they're very wide gap hooks. And a classic Siwash hook comes with an open eye, and that will allow you to put a hook directly onto a plug without a split ring. Siwash hooks are great for use on lures like a pencil popper, large, high, fast moving pencil popper. But here I have our Hoagie surface pencils, and we tend to rig those with an inline hook as well. They're a little sleeker, a little more modern, and tend to be a little sharper out of the package. Now, so we've talked about the inline hook, the difference between J hook. We've got a Siwash hook. Here I have what's called an O'Shaughnessy style hook, and the trademark feature about an O'Shaughnessy hook is a very long hook shank relative to its location between the hook point and the eye. And some folks will put an O'Shaughnessy hook maybe with a couple of split rings in the back of a bluefish plug, because the hook is so long, almost sort of serves like a leader, because it's going to get the hook away from the plug, away from the leader, less common. And then last, we have the circle hook, which is traditionally a hook that would use with either dead bait or live bait, but some folks will rig them on plugs. Not necessarily the most ergonomic design for plugs, but certainly it can be used with plugs. But again, most circle hooks have the live bait style hook orientation, so you'll want to use the double split rings. But that's just a little summary about the different types of hooks that are available that you can use on plugs.